I know this is kind of like a broad, complex question, but if housing was a right, how would that function? Like, what would be the system to support that concept?
So something that's smaller than getting just housing as a human right is there's currently a law called the Faircloth Amendment. And the Faircloth Amendment is a law that from the 90s, it's named after Lodge Faircloth, who was a one-term representative from North Carolina. And it was signed by Bill Clinton. And it capped the number of public housing units available in America to the number it was at that time, which is a crazy thing. Like, imagine there was a law that said we can't build more schools that exist right now. And since then, we've stopped spending money on maintaining public housing, so the number of public housing units is actually much lower than it was when that artificial cap was put in place.
Also, justification of the cap.
Well, we can't be paying money on housing people in NYCHAs, because, like, don't make me say it.
Yeah. I'll say it, racism. To be clear, public housing, when it was originally built, it was housing white people. Queensbridge houses was straight white. It was people coming back from the war, right? And then they utilized it as a tool to move towards the middle class. And then there was a lot of white flight from Queensbridge houses into various public housing. And at that point, that's when you started to see the institutional divestment from the federal to state to city level. And that's when they ultimately started allowing black and brown people to come in. Obviously, there was a lot of regulations, like they didn't allow single mothers and various things like that. But ultimately speaking, the fact that black and brown people started living in it is what led to the Faircloth Amendment, right? They won't say that. But they'll say it's a budget measure. We can't afford this, but that's classism, and that's ultimately classism is linked to race here in America specifically. So yes, to this date we have much less units, right, for public housing than what the Faircloth Amendment limited, and this actually been happening because of RAD conversions, rental assistance demonstration, which converts public housing to a more private version where they have private management, and they do that to sort of say, well, private management can make the repairs. The city and the state and the federal government won't have to foot that bill, right? And that's just sort of the justification to remove it from being federally subsidized fully under Section 9. So that's all jargon, but ultimately I think the point is that, like, the vision that you talked about with the question was like how or why, public housing is the way that we can lead to affordable housing. Right? We have the solution. It's here. They just don't want to invest.